Hi guys, and welcome to another Guild Wars 2 lore blog video. This one's probably going to be quite a short episode, and for that reason I've decided I'm not going to do a challenge mission for this one. That's 2 in a row now, but I promise you guys, on this weekend, probably, like maybe Saturday, I'll have proper details going out soon, or we'll do the challenge mission, I promise. But this one will probably be quite short, so I just kind of wanted to knock it out of the way. Pretty much we've got 2 blog posts here. One of them does have lore in it, but the main focus isn't actually to do with lore. It's about environment art with the Asura when it comes to the Asura. So it talks about how the artists went about making their architecture and the general Asuran theme, I guess you could say. There's a lot of really cool screenshots here, just fantastic concept art, and you can kind of see them working it all out. Actually, something that's really quite cool, I remember a while ago, you guys might be aware, there are actually these concept art videos on the official ArenaNet channel, and on those you can just see concept art scrolling by pretty much on these videos with really nice ambient noises and music in the background. And when they first came out, they actually served as a really good source of a lot of different things, because some of the concept art you could see on that included notes from the artist on all these various things. And I remember one in particular of these videos had loads of stuff on Asuran things. One of these images, I'll probably put it on screen right now, was like this, except it had all these little bits of writing, and it was all these hints about crafting that we had no idea about at the time. It was just fantastic. But yeah, we've got this blog post first, which I figured I'd read, or at least skim through, because there is some interesting lore stuff here. So it's actually by Matthew Barrett, who we've heard from a few other blog posts before now. He says, when the Asura make things, it's not much an exercise of craft or dexterity, as it is an act of will. Ambition made manifest in stone and metal. Every Asuran artifact bears the imprint of their ancient masters of elemental energies. Blind adherents to ancient traditions, however, they are not. If something could be done better, they're on it yesterday. I really like that, because you hear a lot, we will be hearing in the next couple of blogs, about how some Asura make these massive breakthroughs, these really interesting, awesome things that the Asura come up with, and then they squirrel their inventions away because they don't want anyone else to be credited with improving on it or using it for themselves. So in some cases, you actually have these great Asuran inventions that then just fall into obscurity when that Asura dies and no one ever really learns about it anymore, which is really where the start of the book Ghost of Ascalon kicks off. It's some people actually trying to find one said invention from Blim, who we knew in Guild Wars 1, which is really, really cool. So I like this, and I like to wonder how many Asura actually have invented amazing things, you know, potentially things that could kill elder dragons. You know, we could take it that far, you know, really, really massive changes, and then have not brought them to the light of day. I mean, we've heard about the Inquest, right? This huge Asuran faction, and really the theme of the Inquest, again, these guys will learn about more, so I try not to talk about them too much just yet, but really they're quite interesting when it comes to this same philosophy, because at least with the Inquest, it's like those inventions will be passed on in some way, which is really, really quite cool. Just think of those guys as like a massive crew, but we'll get into those later. Our designs for Asuran architecture draw heavily from ancient Hindu temples, massive stone columns, intricate masterful carvings, and a sense of being inside a mountain. I have a particular... I like that as well, because obviously the Asura have come to the surface for Guild Wars 2, but they are a race from underground, and it's nice that they've decided to go with that. Matthew says he has a particular fascination with architectural spaces that are defined by massive forms, and this plays perfectly in with the Asuran penchant for flexing their mastery of stone. As well as carving it, they imbue stone, or coax out of latency, of vital energy to do their bidding, be that a battling golem, an energy multiplying pyramid like Ratasum, or a floating drink coaster. I would love it if Guild Wars 2 actually had floating drink coasters. So then he talks a little bit more about actually design stuff, not so much lore stuff here, but he goes on later to say that it's no great effort for the Asura to make anything they want out of stone and energy, hence their lavishly ornamented and levitated urban infrastructure. The ornamentation is also part of the magic, being a kind of inscribed incantation that imbues the objects with their absolute obedience to the Asura's will. I love it. It's like, you think of the Norn, right? The kind of the massive hulking guys in the north. Really, in typical fantasy scenarios, it would be the Norn that would be the race that has got all this emphasis on how they can shift stone and carve massive things. And really, that is a part of being Norn. They build big. I believe the actual official line is the Norn believe build big or go home, or something ridiculous like that. So that's a part of the Norn, but then you've got this tiny race, the Asura, and they've got structures on the same scale as the Norn do. It's fantastic, and in my opinion, actually more impressive as well, because the Asura are such a small race, and not only have they managed to have a mastery of stone to this point, and they've carved such massive things like Ratasum. I mean, Ratasum is huge. What a giant floating pyramid. It's massive, but even better than that, the Norn might have big buildings, but they're just buildings. With the Asura, these buildings just ooze magic. They're just all magical and all have these inscriptions, and there's all kinds of complex stuff going on inside the walls, and I just love that. It's so, so good. I also love that line that talks about how every object, everything that an Asura creates radiates with its absolute obedience to the Asura's will. That's just so, so good. But he goes on to more lore later down, and he says, in terms of the role of decorative motives, Asuran tools and machines are a little different from their architecture, though they are more dynamically energetic, with a shift in material distribution to accommodate this perception. It's like he's worded the blog post with big long words, just like the Asura would be using. Asura are mad scientists, so I've made sure there are plenty of classically archetypal forms among their artifacts. Electricity, or some magic very like it, features heavily in their technology, so I draw from shapes seen in electrical substations, stacked insulators, Tesla coils, Van de Graaff generators, early particle accelerators, Jacob's ladders, basically anything you'd see in a Frankenstein type movie from the 1950s, which is really cool. I like this idea about the Asura because they're like Magitech, right? But really this is just the fantasy world equivalent of a race that's fiddling around with electricity, except it's electricity without bounds, so it's electricity that can make things float if you want it to, that can make giant energy beams and sort of is only limited by your imagination. That's what really draws me to the Asura, I think. It's their architecture, and it's this whole idea that they're Magitech. I just love it. I love the whole theme of them and the golems and stuff. And in fact, that bit of concept art you can see there with the crystals and things and the big silent golem in the background. I can't wait to see Ratasum and see how awesome that's all going to turn out, because it's just going to be brilliant. I mean, I can imagine that exact picture there is going to be like our home instance. I can just see it so clearly now, and when I get in game, it's probably going to be, that illusion's probably going to be shattered, but never mind. I want their intentions to be clear, he says. Mere tinkering goblins, they are not. The Asura are mad with ambition to harness the power of the planet, and they have all the best tools with which to do it. When you play an Asura, I want you to feel the Asura's indomitable sense of destiny, with the world at your feet and the power of Tyria's deepest, primordial rock at your command. Brilliant. This is why I'm going to play an Asura, guys. This is why I'm going to play an Asura. So yeah, a bit of a, not really so focused on the lore, this blog post, but I do think it's quite important. The other race weeks, we kind of skipped these, and I feel like that's because we were trying to get them all done in the dungeon series, but I feel a bit freer now to actually talk about some of this stuff. Every race week's really had some articles like this that's elaborated a little bit more that I've kind of skipped. The background footage for this I will probably have put on the actual official Asura week video, and hopefully that will have some footage in there that you guys haven't seen before. And in addition, there probably will have been some of the Guild Wars 2 Guru footage. Thanks very much again to those guys for that. And yeah, I was going to do another blog post actually, which is smart ass answers that from Asura. We'll probably do that next episode though, guys, so that this actually to stay short, because I said it was going to be short. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little one here, continuing on with the Asura, and I guess I'll see you next time. See you later, everybody.